Hello YouTube. Today I wanted to just do a little overview of some of my current projects here, and one of them is of course this golf cart that's under a tarp right now and I'm not uncovering. The other is my 98 LeSabre here. The engine blew up on it. It was a freak thing. I think it has 74,000 miles. I don't know if the oil pump failed or what. It's a 3800 motor. They really don't do that, but I guess this one did. So this one is getting supercharged with an L67. I mean, I should have probably gotten the HD transmission with it, but I opted to keep my transmission since it was in good shape and low miles. So I'm going to have to change the torque converter because the flex plates on the motors are different. Then I've got this, which isn't so much of a project anymore as it is riding bike, but of course as you can see, it's a winter wonderland out here, so there is no bike riding going on. This is my Electra, and it's been quite the project. I've done suspension all around. I've done the HVAC control head in here. This guy right here, I rebuilt it thinking maybe it was causing some of my blend door actuating issues and stuff, not sending correct commands to the programmer to open the change from heat to cold, change from defrost. Well, it does change from defrost to vent, but it won't blow out only from the vents. It'll blow out vents and floor, and it doesn't blow very hard, and I'm not really sure what's going on there. Our motor works fine. I've replaced the heater core recently. It was disconnected and bypassed, so I put a new one in and new hoses because the old ones were almost glued to the existing heater core. It was crazy. I had to cut them off. So the only other thing that I really haven't replaced, other than the blower motor controller, which isn't going to solve all of the blend door issues and the blowing. It seems to, when you're moving it, it doesn't really blow so warm anymore. But the only thing I haven't replaced is the HVAC programmer, which is this box right here, and it also controls the heat to cold blend door here. So I've disconnected it and I can manually switch it, and it just stays wherever I switch it to, which is great. But there's definitely an issue going on there. My only other option is to convert it to a manual HVAC controller, and I'd have to rip that HVAC programmer out and reroute all the vacuum lines and figure it out and do some wiring so that the existing wiring can be hooked to the manual type HVAC controller. I really don't want to do that. The 80s thing with the beeping when you change it, I mean, it's pretty neat, and I've already rebuilt this and it works phenomenally, whereas before it was glitching out and doing all sorts of weird stuff. Also, there's a hidden button right here in the middle in between high and external temperature that is a diagnostics button, and it shows no diagnostic codes in the HVAC system. So I'm not sure if that includes the programmer here or not, but the programmer doesn't seem to be working properly regardless. So we're going to replace it. The other issues are the windows. The window guides on all the windows are bad, or missing actually now. So I'm going to replace those, which is probably quite the chore. And this one, the driver door in particular, has a broken tape in the regulator. So that's going to have to be redone as well. So it lifts up forward, which is a pretty neat party trick, I guess. We've got a new alternator in here, a new AC compressor down there. I've converted it to the Series 3 ICM. 2 and 3 use the same. It's an ICM from an 08 Lucerne, and brand new coil packs. The radiator, the condenser, the accumulator. Of course, like I said, the heater core and the heater hoses right down there. You can see the bolts from where I replaced the suspension. She's definitely a work in progress, but she's got, you know, she gets some good gas mileage and should be reliable. 3800 motor. So hopefully it doesn't decide to explode like that one did. Anyways, we've also got the trailer, which isn't really a project anymore since I've just recently redone it. But it's an old galvanized steel boat trailer. And of course there's no frame under this part. So what I did was I got a thick piece of wood here and made it the same width as the plywood, and then just bolted a piece of wood under it, and it holds it from going down or up or flopping around. And I can get up here and stand right on the corner, and it's completely solid. So of course we've got the old Honda taillights on the back, because why wouldn't we? And then I actually have a converter on here for towing vehicles. It's under the frame over here, and it allows a 4-wire trailer input to do separate turn signals, so they all work properly and everything is pretty cool. One thing I forgot to mention was this car needs motor mounts. When I put it in the gear, it kind of clunks. But, you know, with how much I drive for work, saving gas is definitely a priority here. So even though this car is a project and not done, you know, I kind of don't have a choice, because my other car engine blew up, and it's the middle of winter without a garage, so I can't really swap the engine right now. I mean, I could, but I'm not that robust, I guess you could say. So here we are driving the Electra. You know, believe it or not, I'm not really into cars as much as I am into motorcycles. The car thing was kind of a necessity. You know, and at one point I was making enough money where I could just take my car to a shop and have them do it. The problem is, every time I did, they would mess something up, or they would try to scam me, or they would do something that just was wrong. In one way or another, they would just mess it up. I mean, how many shops, how many times can you bring something to somebody else, and every single time it gets messed up before you decide you're just not doing that anymore? And because I was into motorcycles so much, it kind of translated into cars. A lot of the same tools work and stuff, and I am by no means an expert. I have a natural ability to understand how complex mechanical systems work. And I think that's what I have going for me in terms of that. One of my videos is of my van, and it's got the van in the thumbnail. It says needs transmission on top. That video is me obviously explaining how upset I am about having brought that van to a shop and asking them to change my transmission filter, and they told me, well, we're gonna have to do a diagnostic first. We won't do anything until we've done a diagnostic. So they charged me for this diagnostic, which is $150, just to tell me that I need a new transmission. And I even said to the guy, I'm like, well, you know, I was really hoping that I'd be able to, you know, fix this one that's in the van. He's like, well, that's not really possible. We really can't do that. Of course you can do that. You can rebuild a transmission, you know. but we can't really do that. It's not really possible. You're just gonna have to get a new one. It's like $4,400 or something, somewhere along those lines. Then I took the van home. I dropped the transmission pan, and what do I find floating in the pan? The transmission filter. So it uses this filter like a straw to suck up transmission fluid. So, it's like I put a new one in and I get a clip that the off-road guys kind of designed for this exact issue, because the filter commonly falls out, especially if you're an off-roader. So I put this retaining clip in, and it holds the transmission filter in place. And I put a new filter in, and I put new fluid in, and a new gasket on the pan. And I mean, this cost me less than $100 with fluid and everything. And it's been going for 30,000 miles. There's no shifting issues. There's no, the thing it drives great. The only thing that's wrong now is it leaking fluid out of the input shaft seal, which isn't really all that big of a deal. It's an input shaft seal. You have to drop the transmission for it, but anyway, I was pretty upset about that, and I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was done taking my vehicles to anybody other than a repair place, to get new tires put on. That's almost pretty much the limit. And another one that happened recently happened to my dad. He brought his truck into his shop, and he wanted to get it all sorted out before we moved to Tennessee from Florida. So we were making several trips back and forth with all our stuff, and he wanted to get the truck sorted out, and the AC also wasn't working. Every time he turned the AC on, the belt would screech. It seemed like it's a fucked up compressor, that every time the compressor clutch engages when you turn the AC on, it just locks up and the belt slips against that pulley. So he takes it to the shop, and that's what they tell him. You need an AC compressor, and it's going to be $1,400 or something along those lines. And he didn't want to do it right then. He had him do some other stuff, but he didn't want to pay all that money right then. And he brings it back home, tells me about it, and I go out there and I grab the belt, and with my hand pull the belt off, and I could put it back on. I could pull it and put it back on. And it's not the belt that was a rubber band. It was the pulley spring that had I guess diminished, and it wasn't strong enough to give any tension to the belt anymore. That's obviously not right. Under $100, I replaced the tensioner pulley, and the belt was no longer a problem. Turned the AC on, the AC worked fine. It was just the extra load on the system once you turn the AC on was making the belt slip because it was too loose. It just wasn't tight enough to grab hold with all that load. Anyway, right now I'm off to go pick up a new old stock radio for $15 I found on Facebook Marketplace. Not sure if I'll be using that in this car or not. I have ordered some other radios, and I plan on doing some videos about those, because one of them at least I was hoping to not only repair because it's supposedly broken, but also modify to more closely match the existing aesthetic of the car interior, namely the lighting. So this HVAC control head, for example, the screen has green text, and the buttons have orange dots that light up. And so the radio has RGB buttons, but the screen lights up orange, and I was hoping that maybe there's an LED back there, I can change it to a green one. Not sure, but then there's also the fact that it's broken. It was really, really cheap on eBay, so we'll see. We will see. It was like $15 total. Well, I just picked up this guy. I'm at a gas station now, though. New in box. So I seen this on Marketplace, and it just looked pretty neat. Like a period, almost like a period correct radio that could, go in here potentially. I haven't decided what I'm doing in here yet. But most importantly, if I do this radio, look what it's got. It's got aux. So I could have a period correct cassette radio with aux in my 88 Electra, and I thought that might be pretty neat. So we'll see what we're gonna do with this. I'll probably do some kind of an unboxing video at some point or something. But it was definitely cool. For $15 on Marketplace, this, I had to grab it. That's just absolutely just the coolest, I guess. And here's anti-theft. It's got a handle that you can grab to take it with you. That's just funny.